talk about missing sides. And we kind of did this. So we are still going to need to know sine, cosine, and tangent. So again, I'm going to write so, ka, toa at the top of my paper because that's going to help me remember the relationship between the trig functions and the sides, the side lengths. So I'm going to write so, ka, toa, because I'm going to use these on every problem. So I need to remember that the sine of the angle is equal to the opposite side length over the hypotenuse. The cosine of the angle is equal to the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. And the tangent of the angle is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent. So we're still using our trig function relationships, okay? All right. So now let's go ahead and look at number 1 together. We have this angle, so I'm going to mark the angle, and then I need to label the sides that I have. So notice they didn't give me the length of this side, so I can't use that side. So I'm going to label the sides that I have, and then figure out what trig function I need to use. So if this is my angle, what should I label x as? Opposite, good. X is opposite, perfect. And we have the other side that we have is 14. So what side is 14? It could be the hypotenuse or it could be the adjacent. It is the adjacent. How do you decide?
Because hypotenuse is the longer side of the two.
Good. The hypotenuse is longer. If we kind of look at this picture, this one looks longer, so this would be our hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is also always across from the 90. So this would be our hypotenuse. So 14 must be the adjacent. So now we need to decide which trig function we need to use. We have opposite and adjacent. So which of these functions relates the opposite and the adjacent sides? Good, tangent, good. So I'm going to do the tangent of my angle. So the angle always has to go in here. So 19 degrees is opposite, so that's x, over adjacent, which is 14. And we did 2 like this on the very first homework. So we're going to practice these today. So what's next here? We have tangent of 19, that's a 19, equals x divided by 14. Good, times 14 to both sides. So we're looking to solve for x. We need to get x by itself, so do opposite of divide by 14, multiply by 14 on both sides. And then I can plug this into my calculator, 14 tangent of 19 degrees. And this is another time that whatever calculator you're using, make sure your calculator is in degrees. So if you're getting like negative numbers or like weird numbers, really small decimals, then check and make sure your calculator is in degrees. So we're using the tangent, so I'm just going to push this tangent button. Tangent of, this one always has to be an angle, 19, divided by, or not divided by, excuse me, times by 14. And let's round to 1 decimal place. It says round to the nearest tenth. That's just 1 decimal place. So I'm going to go to the hundredths place, 1 past the second decimal. This number is a 2, so I'm just going to round down. So we just found x is 4.8. Okay, questions on that one? go ahead and try number 2. So first, take a minute. We're using angle 71. It's kind of hard to see sometimes. This angle's in this corner. So go ahead and label the sides that we have based on the angle 71. So take a minute to do that, and then we'll talk about what it should be. All right, if you want to, go ahead and check with the neighbors, see if they got the same labels. Did you get the same labels for X and 15? Okay, what do we think? What should X be labeled from 71? Good, it should be the opposite. Good, it's opposite of 71. I was almost right, 71. Opposite, okay. And what about 15? Perfect, how do you know that? I think the hypotenuse and adjacent get me confused. How do you know? Good, it's across from, it's the longest side and it's across from the 90. Good. So we can see that that's the longest side. Good. All right, so now we have the opposite side and the hypotenuse. Which trig function should we use? Good. How do you know that?
Because it's opposite and hypotenuse.
Good. Perfect. So you just have to match. We have the opposite side, we have the hypotenuse. This is the only trig function that matches the opposite and the hypotenuse. Okay, so we'll go ahead and fill that in. So sine of the angle always goes in here, is the opposite side length, which is x, we don't know that, over the hypotenuse, which is 15. All right, what do we do next? We're looking for x.
14.1.
Oh, you already figured it out?
Yeah.
So how did you get it? Tell us.
15 times sine of 71.
Good. Multiply both sides by 15 to get x by itself. And you got 14.1?
Yep, 14.18.
Oh, okay, 14.18. So we go to the hundredths. We're going to round this one. Do we need to round up? Yes, because this number is bigger than 5. So we need to round up 14.2. Good. Okay. All right, look through there. Let's do at least one more. Is there any that look harder? Probably maybe some on the back. See if there's any that are more tricky. What about 15 maybe? Let's try 15. I think 15 is harder because of where x is. So we have this angle. What side length is x? Good, it's a hypotenuse. Good. So it's the longest side. It looks like the longest side, and it's also across from the 90-degree angle. And then what side is this? 16, what would we label that? We have hypotenuse. Sorry? So not Good. So the opposite would be over here, but we don't have the length. So we have adjacent. Good. So which trig function relates the hypotenuse and the adjacent to the angle? Good. Perfect. So cosine of 66. So we can write this over here. So toa. Cosine is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So adjacent is 16. Hypotenuse is x. So before we could just multiply by the bottom number, but now x is on the bottom. So we need to do something different. So watch this pattern. So first we're going to multiply by x on both sides. So we'll have x times cosine of 66 equals 16. X divided by x is just 1. And now we need to divide both sides by cosine of 66. So x will be whatever 16 divided by cosine of 66 is. So the pattern is, if we have x on the bottom, then we're going to need to take the number and divide by the cosine of the angle. You can also just solve the algebra, but if you want to follow that pattern, that's a pattern. If the x is on the top, then you just do the cosine of the angle, divide by the number, or multiply by the number. So you can, okay, so let's see what that is. So now we're doing 16. Oh, you got it? So tell us again. 39.3. Okay, thank you. Let's see if we can find one more. Where x is on the bottom. Okay, do you guys feel okay? Do you want to try one more where x is on the bottom? I think 12 x will be on the bottom. Do you want to try one more? Okay, let's do 12 together. So the first thing that we need to do is label the sides. So 14. Oh, is this one going to work? Yeah, x will be on the bottom. Okay. So what's 14? What side length would that be? Perfect. It's the opposite. Good. So opposite over here. And what is x? Thank you. Hypotenuse. Perfect. So now we need to remember what relates opposite and hypotenuse. Good. So sine of the angle. So the angle always goes in the function. Sine of the angle is opposite side, 14, over hypotenuse. So we would multiply both sides by x to get x off the bottom. So we've got x times sine of 71 is equal to 14. And then we need x by itself, so we're going to divide both sides by sine of 71. So x will equal 14 divided by the sine of 71. Divided by the sine of 71 parentheses. So then I've got 14.8. The hundredths is a 0, so we can just round down to 14.8. All right, so there's 16 more problems. Do you guys feel okay? Do you guys think that you can do them now? You want to do one more? What do you guys think? Okay, I'm gonna let you guys try it, and I'll wander around and see if you guys need help.